Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
And welcome in to another episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Charles Bishop here with you on another Tuesday. It is July 23rd, 2024. MEAC Media Day. We'll get into a lot of news and notes with regards to the MEAC Media Day, but we want to welcome you to another episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show covering the sporting HBCU diaspora and all things HBCU sports for the institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Charles Bishop, along with my host, A.D. Drew, as well as Wilton Jackson, who will be stepping in, internationally acclaimed, world-renowned journalist Wilton Jackson, the face of HBCU News and Notes. A.D. Drew, man, welcome, guys, into another episode of The Lab.
What's going on, Charles?
What's going on, Wilton? Nice to have you back in, brother.
I know it's been a minute. I've been all over the place. What's going on, AD?
While some of us have been on our summer sabbatical with Wilton, I have been all over the place, traveling, covering HBCU sports, AAU, some of the shoe tournaments that they got out there. I've been trying to get it in. My brother's been trying to get it in.
No doubt, man. Welcome in, lab listeners. Edwin Moore, thank you for dropping in. Of course, we're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University here from Houston, Texas. Welcome in to all of the lab rats. Let's get it in. It is another week of HBCU News and Notes. We start here, and we're going to get to MEAC Media Day. We had some, for me, I'll put it that way, my opinion, a surprise or two, just like with SWAC Media Day. I was like, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, they're paying attention to some of the personnel at some of these institutions, but we'll get to you guys' thoughts and insights with regards to MEAC Media Day, because in about a week or so, guys will start reporting. In fact, they probably start reporting this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, and it'll be time to get it up once again. Man, Wilton, AD, football season is it's upon us.
Yeah, it's a skip and a hop away. It's not even months away anymore. I mean, you talk about, like you just said, practice is starting soon. Summer practice is getting players out there in the heat and just hearing some pads crackle against somebody else. I mean, nothing beats that sound.
AD, I said, it'll be one or two coaches. They might get a gift basket right before fall practice starts. And, they're making those last calls like, y'all, you good? What you thinking? You might see that over the next 2-3 days, AD.
Yeah, everybody's been watching the Twitter and everything else about so-and-so is committed to this school, so-and-so is committed to that school. Let me tell y'all a little secret. If they were not enrolled in summer school, I would start to be just a little bit. Now, let's give some of the benefit of the doubt. They may have had previous internships already set up for their major and stuff like that. We got to give those a doubt.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But I mean, let's be real. Florida A&M and Norfolk report next week. They're the first two to report because they've got that week 0 game, and anybody else who's playing in week 0. And so let's be, and it's going to be so refreshing once these teams report and we actually start covering football. Because I'm gonna be real, y'all. Have you ever just wanted to unplug a month or hit the Control-Alt-Delete button on a month in your life, not only in your athletic life, but your professional life? Just hit Control-Alt-Delete and the reset button, because this month has been woo.
Yeah, totally crazy.
Totally crazy. And then you add, EA Sports College Football got released. So it's already thrown.
That's a good one. We don't need to reset that part.
Exactly. We'll get to all things that are MEAC in the next segment, but let's take a look at some news and notes from around the HBCU stratosphere. HBCU Rivals highlight the CBS Sports Winter Broadcast Showcase. Jared Hoffman from HBCU Sports put this out there for us. A few of the fiercest rivalries in HBCU lore are set to take center stage during the 24-25 basketball season as part of the CBS Sports Classic HBCU Showcase on December 28th. And, of course, we have North Carolina Central at North Carolina A&T. And then you also have the Battle of the HUs, Howard at Hampton. Two great rivalry games for the CBS Fall Sports schedule. Your guys' thoughts on we got some good basketball in that little Christmas break time there.
Yeah, that's also like a typical time where you see a lot of these early season games between, sometimes it's interconference, like in this particular case with Howard, well, former teams in the same conference. But when you look at that, it's just like you get some good basketball. Shouldn't be a blowout in either of these games. And teams that relatively know each other well. So you get that continuity. You bring it into like a classic setting. And granted, this is a couple days after Christmas, maybe 3 days after Christmas. You might get some pretty decent crowds. So I think it's good.
No doubt about it. AD, your thoughts?
We used to call this MEAC conference play once upon a time.
That's what I was getting at.
But I was about to say, old MEAC rivals.
Yeah. We used to call this MEAC conference play. It's going to be interesting to see. Sorry to steal this from you, John Grant. Is the rivalry real? Because we know what this rivalry looks like on the gridiron.
Yeah.
I've heard that because you've moved it inside and everybody's confined and everybody's on top of each other, I've heard the basketball rivalry between these schools is even more intense than the one that we traditionally know as football fans. So it's going to be interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, both of these games will be played in Hampton, if I do have that corrected. So while Hampton would have a home court advantage against Howard, the other game would be a neutral site game. So it's going to be interesting to see what that Central A&T crowd does up there in the Virginia Beach area. But if you're up in that area, why not? What day of the week is that on? I'm curious. I didn't even look it up to see what day of the week that's on.
I don't even know what day.
Let me pull out my calendar.
What day Christmas is? I mean, most of the time we always looking for something to watch.
Right, I was about to say is bowl season.
Oh, bro, that's a Saturday. This is a Saturday, man.
So you get a little basketball on a Saturday in the midst of bowl season, huh?
Yep.
Right. The only thing that I'm concerned with this event is the new CFP, and will that pull some people away with the new college football playoff? But if you're in Georgia and Georgia is playing, you might not be watching this game. If you're in Alabama and Alabama Auburn is playing, you might not be. Same thing with y'all down there in Texas. If the Longhorns are playing, you might be watching that game. But for the rest of the people, hey, it's a good opportunity to watch some good HBCU basketball.
No doubt about it. And then you highlight the part of teams being former fierce rivals within the MEAC. You get an opportunity to take a look at that rivalry once again. So I'm looking forward to it, especially, like you said, you get a little break from some of the bowl games. And it's like, yeah, I got a little HBCU basketball on. So kudos, CBS Sports putting that out there for all of our hoop heads, especially around Christmas time when I start dialing in for a little bit of HBCU basketball myself.
I might even go apply for some credentials for that one. You never know.
There you go. Of course, AD, the man who gets around to each and everything from the south to the east. It doesn't matter. There you go, AD. Get it in, brother. And I will, as we move to break, and I want to close this segment out on a bit of a somber note, as we do want to acknowledge the passing of a former Grambling women's basketball standout, Jasmine Boyd. Jasmine Boyd was a key part of Grambling's most recent NCAA women's basketball tournament team date in 2018. And unfortunately, she passed away. And this is a statement with regards to Jasmine Boyd from Grambling 80 Travion Scott. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our former women's basketball student athlete and GSU alumna, Jasmine Boyd. Our thoughts and prayers are with her family, friends, teammates, and all who were touched by her remarkable life. We ask for everyone to keep the Boyd family in your prayers during this very difficult time. And as always, we want to acknowledge here on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the life of Jasmine Boyd. We'll take a moment to pause and reflect on the life of Jasmine Boyd.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. AD Drew and Wilton Jackson. Let's talk about it. It is MEAC Media Day. Guys, it's just like the SWAT. Where we saw a bit of some, if you will, some murmuring, if you will, but the defending MEAC champion not predicted to finish first in the MEAC as we take a look at the predicted order of finish. Coming in at Delaware State. Then you have Norfolk State, South Carolina State in third, Morgan State in third. Howard picked to finish second. Then North Carolina Central. They are picked to be the class of the MEAC and represent the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl this upcoming season. Thoughts? Any surprises? Wilton, AD, what say you guys?
Charles,
I have no surprise.
Go ahead, AD. Go ahead.
I have no surprise. This actually probably came in right where I thought it would come in, with Central being 1, Howard being 2. No surprises. Norfolk receiving a first place vote. Little bit of a shocker. Also, Morgan State only receiving 1 first place vote was also a shocker to me. The split between Howard and Central on the first place votes, that's probably par for the course for what I was expecting.
Wilton, I was about to say Howard with the preseason offensive and defensive players of the year. I think a lot of questions surrounding the quarterback position. Very interesting. You have North Carolina Central picked to finish first in the MEAC.
You know, Charles, I've actually talked to Jared Hunter before, and he's one to keep a chip on his shoulder, just in general. So I'm sure when he saw this, as North Carolina Central coming out on top above them to be predicted to finish number 1, I'm sure that's something he's going to take into fall camp saying, okay, yes, we just played in the Celebration Bowl a year ago, and we defended and represented the MEAC, but yet we didn't get predicted to be first. If I'm a player, I feel a certain type of way about that, just being honest. That was one of the surprises for me, because I'm one to lean on the fact that if the champion until beaten should be number 1. That's just me. I would have still probably put Howard number 1, then North Carolina Central. Another point that stood out too was the Morgan State only getting 1 first place vote. I guess
a bit of a surprise, yeah.
Yeah, like Morgan State, I think people might have forgot just how close they were to potentially making it to a Celebration Bowl per se. They were in the mix at one point in time, and last time I checked, their defense is probably still going to be lethal in this upcoming year. South Carolina State kind of fell where I expected them to be. However, I will say this, because the coach that Chennis Berry is, I won't be surprised if they make some surprises. I know that might sound really crazy, but I won't be surprised if they sneak up on some people in the MEAC. As far as Norfolk State, Delaware State, that pretty much kind of landed where I thought it would be.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting about South Carolina State, you mentioned Chennis Berry. What you failed to mention, Wilton, was the fact that Eric Phoenix, the quarterback, is coming also to South Carolina State, who had all the success on the Division II level with Benedict. So does success on the D2 level translate into success on the FCS level for Mr. Phoenix? And let's not forget about all those people down in Miami who were having concerns about Florida A&M pulling out of the Orange Blossom Classic. They could not have asked for a better matchup of MEAC number 1, preseason number 1, North Carolina Central versus SWAC East number 1, Alabama State. Preseason number 1, Alabama State.
Yeah.
In the opening game of the season. So those people in the OBC, whether they had some inkling of this or not, they got it right. If you want a matchup without Florida A&M, this is the matchup that you wanted.
Here's the question I wanted to throw out there. In Norfolk State coming in at 4th, Dawson Odom's team. And if I'm not mistaken, the stat that I read, 19 starters or guys who had significant time last year on the Norfolk State roster coming back. Have we discounted the Spartans up there in the MEAC?
I don't think we have for now, for where they sit now. I mean, anything can change once the season starts. I mean, let's take a step back and even look at where Norfolk State was, say, maybe in the beginning of the season. Like at one point in time, of course, it's the beginning of the season. You still, working through kinks and really trying to see what you have in a team. But then obviously when it matters the most and down the stretch, they, or through the midway part of the season and down the stretch, they kind of fell by the wayside and things happen. And obviously the teams that are the most elite are going to emerge. But to your point, Charles, when you have a certain amount of starters coming back, that's always a good thing in most cases, especially if they were really young, because that playing experience that they had as freshmen or sophomores, by the time they get to be, or even if as freshmen, by the time they get to their sophomore and junior year, that continuity matters. Those plays, those possessions, the same things, same mistakes you might have made in that first year, you don't make those same mistakes in that second or third year. So when I've talked to coaches, especially just kind of getting into SWAC media day, I know we're talking about MEAC, but a lot of times these players, they look at these things, they use it as motivation, but at the end of the day, the games are still played on the field. So with them being played on the field, this is only extra added motivation for them to go out and prove it otherwise. And Norfolk State, again, could potentially, change their mindset or change the way that they perform in recent years. It just depends on what happens in these games.
Very interesting thing to look at with regards to when we talk about SWAC, we talk about a quarterback league. MEAC, we look at the defense a little bit more. How big an impact is it with Otto Kuhns being named first team preseason All MEAC? Is a quarterback play in the MEAC enough of a difference maker the way that we see it in the SWAC?
We saw it at Central last year.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it at Central 2 years ago, where the quarterback made the difference with those Central teams. Now you got to be thinking, can I give another example beyond that, though, is the question, Charles, as far as a quarterback. How was quarterback last year was serviceable. You may be right where, although you may get a diamond in the rough every now and then, quarterback play has not been the tell-all in this particular conference that's known for its defense and its running game, primarily because of the weather factor. While, we down in the South, you can sling the ball all the way around until November. Come mid-October, you up there at DC, you better have a good ground game because the weather starts to turn and you need to rely on something besides being able to sling the ball all over the place. Heck, I know it's not MEAC, but let's not forget Virginia Union and Fayetteville State last year in the Hurricane game, where you needed a great running game. I also want to know something else that y'all need to pay attention to. Circle City Classic. Central, Norfolk play each other in September. The only conference game that's outside of those last 5 weeks, which is going to afford those two teams a later bye than the rest of the conference. So the winner of that game will have a leg up on the conference, obviously with the win compared to everybody else. But the fact that they're gonna get that extra rest while everybody else in the conference goes 5 consecutive weeks. If a Norfolk can pull off the quote unquote upset early in Indy, we're definitely going to see Norfolk finish higher than the number 4 that they were predicted.
As you see the first team all conference and first team all conference offense, first team all conference defense on the screen there, Otto Kuhns, quarterback, Norfolk State. Very interesting. And I mean, Howard has this 1-2 punch with Jared Hunt and Eden James in the backfield. And then they have a deep threat in Casey Hawthorne. How important will it be for Howard to establish a new signal caller just to put the ball in some of the hands of these threats?
Oh, it's going to be real important. Very important from the first day, because how many times did we see the running game obviously opened up for the passing game last year for Howard? That's how it was. But if you don't have that passing game, you're going to have that running game. But if you don't have that passing game, it could be hard. There were times where they had positions where if they went up against certain teams, I can't remember exactly which game, but they had certain times where they struggled to run the ball in certain positions. I want to say that maybe have been that game against Hampton, when it mattered the most down the stretch, because they lost their game to Hampton, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah,
to Hampton. So,
Hampton made the comeback in the fourth quarter against them.
Exactly. So being able to pass the ball and pass it around the field is going to be essential for them. Defense, I'm not necessarily going to be too worried about. I know they're gonna be prepared. The running game, Eden James, Jared Hunter, we know the impact player that Casey Hawthorne is going to be. It's going to be extremely important for them to be able to pass that ball.
Yeah. As you see the names on the screen, Smith Brown from South Carolina State, Keyshawn Toney, Eric Brown, Nick Tice, Cam Johnson, all representing South Carolina State. Trayvon Branch, offensive line from Morgan State. Darius Fox from Howard. Trayvon Humphrey round out the first team all-conference offense, representing North Carolina Central. On the defensive side of the ball, and I always pay attention, especially when I'm looking at MEAC on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive linemen and the linebackers. Jaden Taylor from Central, Elijah Williams, Morgan State, Stewart Howard, Keyshawn Lynch, Norfolk State, Aaron Smith, linebacker, tough linebacker, South Carolina State, A.J. Richardson, Eric Hunter, of course, we called his name all last year, Eric Hunter with Morgan State, Cole Jones from Central, Kenny Gallup, preseason defensive player of the year representing Howard, Jamar Benjamin, Terran Mallory, Juan Velarde, Dylan West, and Keith Jenkins round out the first team all-conference defense. You know, when we come back out of break, it's some names sitting out there, especially for South Carolina State. It turned the wheels in my head to thinking, who is the surprise team coming up in the MEAC? We'll take a quick break, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the other side. Who are some of the people who might turn your heads this upcoming season?
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And guys, full disclosure, I'm gonna tell you, I can't wait for the MEAC Monday morning press conferences because Chennis Berry. I just love listening to Chennis Berry. Hell, I'm some years old, and I want to put on a helmet when I listen to Chennis Berry. But I got to look in, Dr. Cavil's Black College National Champion, small college national champion with Benedict, comes over to South Carolina State. 80, you mentioned, he brings his quarterback with him. He's got a bevy of first team, all conference, preseason all conference performers at the ready. How big an impact is Chennis Berry coming into this league and coming more specifically to South Carolina State?
Chennis Berry is one of the biggest cheerleaders and motivators I have ever come across in the coaching profession. Having seen him, I wouldn't necessarily say up close, but having seen him a few times when I've had to cover Benedict, like you say, Charles, that if there's anybody who at our age can get us to run through a wall, it's going to be Chennis Berry. and if you notice, you mentioned those first team selections. Did you notice where 3 of those first team selections were, Charles?
On the offensive line, huh?
Offensive line.
Yeah.
What did Chennis Berry used to coach when he was at Southern?
O-line.
So those Benedict teams, what were they built by? O-line and D-line.
Yeah.
You know, and as good as their offensive line was, their defensive line was twice as better, probably having one of the best defensive lines in Division II football. So if you're going to watch anything about South Carolina State, watch the battle in the trenches and see what South Carolina State could do. Can he do it year one is the question. Remember, it took him a couple of years at South Carolina State to get everything right, and then he went on and won his last 23 games at Benedict. So are we looking at a similar timeline where it's going to take him a year or two to get it together? But to go back into the Wayback Machine, that was pre-Portal.
Wilton, I mentioned Chennis Berry as being kind of my potential head turner team in the MEAC. Do you have a potential head turner team that wasn't North Carolina Central?
I'm kind of along the lines with you because and granted, when you think about North Carolina Central, you knew they would be near the top. You knew Howard would be at the top. And when you look at, I think for me, when I look at South Carolina State, you know that this is a Chennis Berry who, you know, like you said, you'll run through a wall for him. You know the way he's going to coach his teams. To AD's point about the way that those teams are built, this is a team who was able to pass the ball. At Benedict, they had a lethal passing attack. They were also able to run the ball. So when I was looking at their schedule, after they play FAMU, they have some non-conference games. Actually, a lot of non-conference games before they get actually back into some conference play. Well, will they win those non-conference games like that? We don't really know. But what it does do is if you get some wins, even if you don't get the wins, it prepares you even more for this conference play that you're going to be getting ready to go into. So some of these teams that say maybe it is a Central, maybe it is a Howard that might be 5-0. Well, you getting a battle-tested team in South Carolina State that might be ready to give you an upset. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it can happen.
But South Carolina State does not build their schedule. I hate to say it. They don't build it to please the fans. They build their schedule as a championship level schedule. First of all, South Carolina State gonna go get their checks. They gonna play at least 2 check games per year, if not 3. Then they're gonna play some other top level FCS teams regionally. They may put a Virginia Lynchburg, they may put another Division 2 team on their schedule just to kind of get over the hump. But they build that schedule to get their team battle tested for conference. Now, a lot of that schedule was probably made before Chennis Berry was there. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting, number one, to see if Chennis Berry continues that tradition. Because if you look at South Carolina State's schedule, non-conference, they've always been upside down non-conference. Time they're always right side up and battling for the conference title. There, especially up under Buddy Pugh. So yeah, you're right, Will. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Even though you may have a 1-5 or 1-6 South Carolina State team coming into conference play, and everybody remember, all these play at least 6, if not 7. Non-conference game because it's only 5 conference games available, so they're going to play more non-conference games than conference games.
Charles, I just want to mention to that schedule point. So after FAMU, they played the Citadel, Georgia Southern, North Carolina A&T, Tennessee Tech, Fort Valley State, and then their first conference game isn't until October 26th, and that's homecoming against Delaware State. And then they turn around on a short week on Halloween and play North Carolina Central. That could be an upset.
That's an interesting one.
Where's that Central game at?
Yeah, where's that played at?
That game is in Orangeburg.
Ooh.
Oh, so they get homecoming. They get homecoming, and then they get they're at home on a short week.
Exactly.
Oh
yeah, that's
why
they don't have homecoming. They don't have homecoming hangover. They're gonna be all right.
Yep.
That'll be interesting. Shout out to Dr. Cavil checking in. Tremendous job this morning, hosting the MEAC preview show prior to them getting things up and underway up there. Tremendous insight that you got from not only the coaches but the players as well. So I definitely want to send a shout out to Dr. Cavil checking in from Orlando. Let me ask this question, guys, and do we make this mistake, especially in the media? And AD, you touched on it with regards to the non-conference play and the number of games where you don't have these MEAC teams facing each other. I don't know. We get kind of towards October and we start taking a look at the schedule, and like you mentioned, they might be 1-4, 1-5, and it's like, and then all of a sudden, that finishing kick hits in probably late October, going into November, when things are really on the line in the MEAC. Do we make that mistake in terms of looking at how viable a team is, especially once we get into the thick of things in October?
Do we now remember 2 years ago when South Carolina State won the national championship? I know you remember, Charles.
Oh, very much so.
They were what, 5-6 coming into the Celebration Bowl, or 6-5, or whatever. 6-5.
Yes.
They were 6-5 because if I remember right, their one win may have been against somebody like Virginia Lynchburg to put them over the hump, so that they did not come in upside down into the Celebration Bowl. And in reality, and I hate to say this, and John Grant's gonna have to have his marketing team on give them a bonus. Sooner or later, we're gonna have an upside down team make it to the Celebration Bowl, especially when you consider this year and next year there's a 12-game schedule, and you're gonna have somebody go 1-6, 0-7, non-conference, and then run through the conference.
Finish the kick 5-7.
And it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Finish the season 5-7, and even if they win the Celebration Bowl, they'll be upside down, holding up the trophy. So, Brother Grant, I hope you got that plan put somewhere in the file cabinet, because sooner or later you are going to have to activate it. But like I said, it doesn't matter about what they do non-conference. Can they win those last 5 games? That's all these teams care about. So it's just like our basketball teams who go to the NCAA tournament. Most of the times our basketball teams are still upside down in March.
Very interesting. What is it that I'm missing with regards to North Carolina Central? Finished first today. Trey Oliver trying to get his troops back to the Celebration Bowl. But like I said, I started thinking about Dawson Odoms. I started taking a look at Howard and North Carolina Central. They are picked to finish first. What did I overlook? What is it about this team, especially that, if you're sitting back over there in Durham, like, I can't believe y'all questioning us.
You can go Eddie first. I'll go after you.
I was gonna say this is the segment in which we need Joshua Sims Sr. to come on and tell us
that was a
Central is going to be.
Yeah. Call for Joshua Sims.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. But I know Central has always had a good wide receiver room. Now, do they have anybody to get the ball to the wide receiver? Is going to be the question.
Yeah.
That's what the thing is. And let's be real. They coach their teams to win their in Durham. And for the last 4 years, Trey Oliver has done a good job getting his teams prepared, because you saw you saw Central coming. Every year they improved until the win year they got to the national championship, and even last year we were thoroughly disappointed with them not making the Celebration Bowl, but them still making the FCS playoffs. So Central is a team. They have the culture. They have everything in place. Can they replace the quarterback? I think that's the question there in Durham.
$1 million question. Wilton, go for it.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing as to what AD said. Can they replace the quarterback? Because they have some dynamic playmakers still coming back. You talk about Jamar Taylor. He's an impact player for them. He's coming back. And I think you when you say, what did you miss? I don't think it's maybe so much of what you miss. It's just the fact that there's a lot of continuity that's been built with North Carolina Central and what Coach Oliver has been able to do with that program. And I think that unless something drastically changes, we're going to see them, for the most part, at least somewhat be in the mix. Obviously, last year when we started the season, it was a resounding thought that North Carolina Central will probably still be playing at the end of the season in the Celebration Bowl. But things happen. The games have to be played. Howard had the opportunity. They didn't take care of the situation that they need to take care of to get there. But I think that you're still going to get a very much competitive brand of football coming out of Durham. And that's essentially, I think, at the minds of voters that pick these teams in this order, that's what they were thinking about.
Go ahead, AD.
One last comment. It would not surprise me if we see a trend where we see a MEAC team consistently in the FCS playoffs, because their schedule, their non-conference schedule, allows a second place team to get to the FCS playoffs, unlike in the SWAC, because the non-conference games you play, I mean, let's look at the SWAC non-conference schedule. You're going to play a check game, and you're going to play a Division II, and then you're going to play an FCS. Those are typically the three non-conference games. Well, that usually doesn't allow a SWAC team to get an at-large to the FCS playoffs. Where in the MEAC, especially this year, you have 7 non-conference games. If you're playing 5 FCS schools and you go 4-1, like Central did last year against those FCS schools, even if you don't win the MEAC, you're still going to probably make it to the playoffs if you go 4-1 in conference.
As long as those FCS programs remain reputable throughout the season, meaning like they're also still somewhat winning games as well.
Let me ask this quick question.
Well, I mean, you're talking CAA, Big South, and Patriot League. Those are the 3 conferences that they typically play against.
Right.
Can we see a deep run? And I say this with the transfer portal, with the way, especially at the FCS level, I see teams. I don't see a huge disparity like I once used to see. Is there a point in time where we can see a deep run, especially from a MEAC team in the FCS playoffs? Anybody?
That's me.
Yeah, anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I thought you were pondering, so I was leaving.
Yeah, no, me too.
My bad. But yeah, I think you could definitely see a deep run. Obviously, the number one thing is going to be health. The number 2 thing is how far are you gonna make us travel when we do go to that FCS game. If they ever allow us, we're not gonna host the game. Let's be real. We know we're not gonna host the game. But can we get a game close enough where we can take over the stadium? That's going to be the question. If we can get those and we can bring the band, we may start seeing teams start making a run.
Will.
I think a lot of it goes back to another point that AD was talking about in terms of the way these schedules are constructed. And I think that if you're having the competition from these teams, from these leagues like the CAA and the Big South, and not like the bare bottom teams in these conferences, like the teams that are religiously going to the FCS tournament, the FCS playoffs every year. If MEAC teams are beating them, and not only just the premier MEAC teams, but if like right now, obviously South Carolina State wasn't picked to be number 1, but let's say South Carolina State maybe gets 1 or 2 wins against some of these, non-conference teams that may have potentially played in the FCS. When the powers that be look at these schedules and look at that, it's like, oh, if this is being done over a couple of years of time, let's say maybe a 5 to 10 year span, you kind of have to start considering, okay, this brand of MEAC football that it once was is not exactly the same as it used to be. It's different. It's growing. Talent is there. And these same teams that beat some of these teams in the regular season, if given the opportunity to put them in the FCS playoffs, they've shown that they can beat these teams. So why not be able to give them a chance to compete on the biggest stage in the FCS playoffs?
Interesting point. Well, I tell you what, all the data is in from the SIAC, the CIAA, the SWAC, and the MEAC. As we go to our last segment, we'll get you guys observations, news, and notes from the whole diaspora, if you will, of the HBCU conferences, as well as North Carolina A&T, Tennessee State, and Hampton. We'll be right back here on Inside HBCU Sports Lab.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
And welcome back here on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Charles Bishop, A.D. Drew, and Wilton Jackson. And let me not do that. Tennessee State, Howard Hampton, they're all part of the HBCU diaspora. You don't have to text me, email me, none of that good stuff, or even do that to Dr. Cavil.
You know they're going to do that.
I don't want Jamie Walker texting me and then telling me, hey, we still HBCU. Yes, you are. We don't even have to do that. But
when they media day again?
No, you won't. So we got data here from all of the conferences, and the thing that jumps out for me, the robustness of all of these teams being broadcasted, whether you're talking about ESPN, HBCU Go, SWAC Digital. They put out their games that they will be having. Huge North Carolina A&T local distribution in regards to the area in North Carolina being able to watch North Carolina A&T games. But we're in this zeitgeist, if you will, of you're going to be able to watch your teams. We'll be able to get all the data in from Thursday through Saturday. But what were your, sort of thoughts as we look back and reflect on the various media days from around the conferences? And I'll start off with you, I will.
For me, as the one that I attended, obviously was the SWAC. I think that there's a lot of excitement around SWAC football. I mean, obviously, let's just talk about just the number of coaches, the new coaches that we're gonna have, right? I mean, and granted, not even just that, but like the teams that have retained their coaches, the teams that are predicted to make some significant steps, right? We're looking at Alabama State. They were picked number 1 over FAMU. If I'm FAMU as a team who just won the Celebration Bowl, I'm thinking to myself, like, we're still the champs. Granted, different Coach Causey. But when you think about an Alabama State team, that's gonna be. I'm really excited to see what they're gonna look like. You Charles, you in Texas, you know exactly where I'm going with that when I talk about Alabama State. But I'm excited to see them, be able to see if they're gonna have that same balance on offense that they have on defense. Last year, we know defense was lights out. I'm looking to see what that's gonna look like. I'm also looking to see, and I'm excited to see what Coach Causey puts together with FAMU. I haven't talked to him before. He's a no-nonsense coach. They have a lot of players returning and coming back. Obviously, some all SWAC players in that nature too. And then, of course, Jackson State. We know what TC is building, what they're doing. I think the thing for them is just going to be, are they going to be able to finish games? Are they going to be able to finish games and stay healthy in a lot of places? And then when you look at Bethune-Cookman, now I know you talk about teams that could potentially shake up things or whatever. Well, we know they had a really good recruiting class. I don't see them clearly don't necessarily see them winning the SWAC, but I don't think this will be the same Bethune-Cookman team we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years. Just my thoughts. That's just me on July 23rd saying that. I just don't believe that'll be the same Bethune-Cookman team. And then in the West, of course, you got Alcorn with a new coach. Southern with a new coach, Coach Graves. I'm really excited to see what he does. He knows that program. Obviously the only coach to coach within the Bayou Classic both times. Like I'm excited to see what he does. But then also Chris Dishman at Texas Southern, like what he's gonna put together. So between the players coming in that have come into the conference, recruiting classes, the new coaches that will make things different. Maybe this might be a year where we get I don't know if it'll be a situation where we get a new coach to lead a team to a Celebration Bowl or SWAC championship, but it's definitely a possibility with the number of new head coaches that are in the conference this year.
Quick pivot, AD, especially when we take a look at sort of the environment that we're in now. Grambling moved on from their coach after a couple of seasons. Southern, season and a half, moved on from their coach. The thing that jumps out for me with regards to college football as it is now, fan bases expect you to win now. Probably now more than any other time that we've watched college football with regards to especially how we see players move in the transfer portal. But coming into the season, who probably has that 600-pound gorilla kind of sitting on their back?
It's hard to identify, Charles, who has that 600-pound gorilla when you look around HBCU football and everyone still has their "Hello, my name is" tag on their chest with all the moves. Once upon a time, you were able to find. You knew Grambling, Eddie Robinson, FAMU, Jake Gaither, Billy Joe. You knew the names with Jeffries, with South Carolina State. You knew who was going to run these programs. You knew the values that these coaches were going to have, and you knew the type of players they were going to recruit. Now, you don't even know at any point in time have we ever had where we don't know who the starting quarterback is for our team, because
you see that
there's always been this cycle. There's always been this cycle. You've had this guy. He was with the program for 4 years. He was a 2-year starter, and you know who the other guy is coming up behind him to take their position, be it quarterback, be it running back, linebacker, defensive end. It is hard to. Obviously, we root for the names on on the front of the jersey in our color. But it is hard when you really have no clue as to who the hell's name is on the back of the jersey now. But if you want to talk about teams that have the big monkeys on their back, James Cole's FAMU. With everything that's going on at Florida A&M, with everything that's gone on at Florida A&M, since they have won that Celebration Bowl, fans of the orange and green need a distraction. They want a distraction, and they're commanding a distraction. We wanted you in this seat. The athletic director did not want to hire you. We demanded that they hire you. You cannot go out and lay an egg if you're James Coles, because I be damned if you gonna prove that she was right and she shouldn't have hired you. So I think James Coles at Florida A&M has the biggest monkey on his back because of everything. I mean, hell, we done had Jerami Gate. Our president to resign. We done had tornadoes come through the campus. You know, that's all anybody in Orange Green is thinking about. We need distraction of football, and we need some W's to go along with it.
Let me ask this question: is that because of the fervor of the fan base of FAMU, the fervor of the fan base of Grambling, the fervor of the fan base of Southern, Jackson State? Some of these fan bases, let's be honest, that gorilla's a little heavier. That gorilla's a little heavier. Can you, quote unquote, kind of skate under the radar, if you will, until you kind of build up your recruits? Are we still in that day and age?
I think more and more calls, because like you said, or like both of you guys have said, in a sense that we're in this microwave popcorn culture. You don't have as much time anymore, and this is not even just from the smallest of levels like the HBCUs. We talking about even the Power 5 levels too. We see it all the time now. And so, to AD's point, FAMU fans are definitely gonna be expecting wins. I give you another program. Take it back. Take it to the SWAC West. Look at Alcorn. How many? I had to envision not seeing Fred McNair at Alcorn at SWAC today. It didn't even feel right initially. You know, and to know that, like, I guarantee you, they still expecting wins to come out of Norman, Mississippi, and if they don't, you will hear about it.
Why nobody has?
What about in Huntsville?
I was about to say, up there in Huntsville. I mean, Demetra, she pointed out Connell Maynard up there at Alabama A&M.
I mean, let's be real, he's on the clock.
Oh yeah,
Connell Maynard is on the clock. Not only if Connell Maynard loses to Alabama State for the third year in a row in the Magic City Classic, Eddie Robinson Jr. hasn't lost the Magic City Classic since he's been there. But if he loses for the third year in a row, Connell Maynard may not make it through the season.
Interesting as we come up to on the top of the hour, guys. Phenomenal discussion, as always. We'll carry it on with whomever the host is on Thursday. AD Drew, I'm pulling on your towel that way in regards to Thursday. But very interesting conversation. MEAC Media Day today. All the data is in from all the conferences. And you guys, you dug into it. We talked a little bit about a little bit of all of them over the past few weeks with regards to the SIAC, CIAA. And let's talk, before we sign off, A&T, can they make a move? Hampton, can they make a move? Tennessee State and OVC. How much time we got for that in the next couple of minutes? Guys, go for it with regards to those three programs.
I think when I look at Tennessee State, they made strides last year. This is a team who had a winning season. Obviously, started off really, really, really high, but they still ended up winning season. I still like State and what he's trying to bring to the program. I think that if they continue to build on what they established and the foundation that they created last season, I think they're going to be okay. Defensive wise, like I'm not as worried. They did lose some people, but he one thing I've noticed about the way that their defense is that very, very tough. When they hit you, they obviously going to hit you hard. But the one thing that always bothers me about Tennessee State, just within recent years, and specifically under Coach George, is that quarterback situation. You know, what are we going to get? Are we going to get a mobile quarterback who we know that's an athlete, but is he going to actually be able to make the proper passes to get the ball down the field when it's, when the game is on the line? So that's always a big concern for me with Tennessee State. But I'm excited to see how they can kind of continue to move up and progress.
Do we see progression, AD Drew?
One place where we think we know who the starting quarterback is going to be, and I say think because we still have not seen the roster, so we may have to delete this segment out if he's no longer on the roster, is at Hampton with Chris Zellis at quarterback. Last year, 27 combined touchdowns and 2,600 yards combined passing and rushing. The one place where we think we know who the incumbent quarterback is, and the one place where we expect the quarterback to put up some numbers. Can he do that in that ultra competitive CAA? Well, he stole a couple of games last year in that CAA. So Chris Zellis right now, preseason, is probably the best quarterback in HBCU land. Will he be able to live up to that and lead Hampton to get above 500 in that conference where the CAA usually has 3 teams going into the FCS playoffs. Mm-hmm. So Hampton getting to 500 in that conference would be a tremendous accomplishment. Can A&T rebound and do what they did when they were in the Big South? When they were competing in the Big South, and then it's like the Big South kind of caught up with them, especially when they moved from the Big South to the CAA. That switch, 3 switches in 5 years, 3 conferences in 5 years, like caught up with them competitively because they didn't know what type of athlete to recruit for these different conferences. Tennessee State, can we just get y'all to go to the doggone game? That's all I want to see from Tennessee State. Can we get some attendance at Tennessee State? I'm gonna leave it there.
Great place to put a pin in it here for July 23rd, episode 527. The AD Drew grenade for the walk-off. So, but you guys know how we always finish things up. I'll start it off. Course, AD.
Lecture.
Wilton.
Lecture.
I know it.
Summer sabbatical to did it to him again.
Dismissed.